A few weeks back, we dropped off the black E46 M3 in Indianapolis. Coincidentally, we had a subscriber also from there reach out to us a few months prior to that, and he wanted to give us his E60 550i. Bryan had owned this car for several years, but a couple of years ago, it started to develop major issues. Even then, Bryan still held onto the car and parked it in his garage because of the sentimental value it had for him. I think we can all agree that cars are not just a tool for us enthusiasts, they are much more than that. For Bryan, this car held memories of his father and him traveling and spending time together. Unfortunately, his father is no longer with us, but this car continues to keep his memory alive. Bryan contacted us wanting to see if we would be interested in taking the car and bringing it back to life, and continue to make new memories. As you can see, the car is super clean inside and out, but let's pull it into the shop and see what's wrong with it.
Let's see if it turns on. Ooh, no problem. No warning lights, except for service overdue and charging the remote. It's got exactly 139,700 miles. And it says the next oil change is due at 144,000, but October of 2019. So it's pretty fair to say the car's been sitting for a while. I would say at least 2 years, because the last oil change was supposed to be done October of 19. But the battery, everything is holding up perfectly fine. So I know he had told me that he was driving it around every couple of weeks or whatnot, you know, get all the fluids circulating, make sure the tires are turning. So I mean, I figured that everything else was going to be running fine. But as we already know, the transmission is the main concern here. That's what pretty much took it off of the road. But I'm sure there's other stuff too that we're gonna find out here soon once we get on the lift. So let's pull it into the shop and see what all is wrong with this car. Reverse. It went into reverse? Oh, it feels pretty clunky though. All right, let's see if it makes it in. I know we had problems getting it up onto the ramp when we were pulling it onto the trailer. So I think when it gets on any kind of incline, it makes it even worse as far as the transmission is concerned. And this button is completely broken, so I can't turn the volume down. I can turn it off. All right, let's see. All right, winter is definitely here. Man, all right, let's open the hood first before we even get it on the lift. See if we see anything. I haven't even opened the hood or anything yet. Okay, that's to be expected. I mean, most people do not wash their engine bays. I can already see a lot of this stuff has been replaced though, because that vacuum pump looks pretty new compared to the rest of the stuff. And it's not as greasy as I thought it would be. It's more just dust and dirt. I mean, I'm not seeing any like crazy issues right off the bat. And honestly, I mean, you're not really going to be able to see many issues because of all these covers. I mean, until we start taking all the covers off, I think we're going to get a better look from underneath the car. So let's pull the car up on the lift, take all these covers off from underneath, and see how everything looks down there. Because that's the thing, gravity, right? Gravity takes all those oil leaks, everything just goes to the ground. So I'm pretty sure all those plastic panels, I will be very, very surprised if they are not greasy and covered in oil. As I had predicted, all oily and greasy. So this is very common. These plastic covers, they always break right here, especially when they're removed a couple of times. It happens. I'm looking through here, all the suspension is completely stock, which, I mean, the car only has like 140,000 miles, and this is right around the time where all that stuff needs to be replaced. But I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, that's what we are expecting. We are expecting a lot of work on this car. I mean, otherwise, you know, he would have just kept it, right? Like, why would he even park it if it didn't need a lot of work? I hate to admit it, but any like BMW V8s especially, you got to be ready to spend money, because these cars, they require, I would say, if you're working on it yourself, I would say you're going to spend about $1,000 every year in maintenance. Now, if you're paying somebody else to do it, that number is going to easily double or triple. And I mean, we have some of the maintenance records from this car from the owner to see, you know, how much he has spent over the last couple of years before he had to, you know, park it. And I'm pretty sure those are going to add up. They're probably going to be right around that mark, between 2,000 to 3,000. And I mean, that's what you should expect every year, especially once you get over 100,000 miles. I mean, that's when everything starts needing to be replaced. And a lot of people just don't have the funds or the time to have everything replaced at once. If you do the full cooling system, all of the gaskets, you do all the transmission maintenance, if you're doing all that stuff at once, it's going to sit at a shop for a little bit. It's going to be for a couple weeks at least. So let's get these covers off. I mean, some of the stuff is broken. Hopefully I don't break it anymore, because I want to try to keep everything intact as much as possible. And I don't want to get dripped on, because it's a little drippy in here, if you know what I mean. Who else watches TikTok? And by the way, this drippiness and dripping is not from the car. It might be from the car a little bit, but most of it is due to ice. It's been super, super cold here lately. I feel for the guys up north where it's always snowing, where they're always salting the roads. Imagine how messed up the shop floor must get. Like every time they pull a car, especially like the ones that are doing normal maintenance in and out jobs, that must be crazy. Like all that salt and slush, it's snowing outside, you bring it inside, just everywhere dripping on you. Yeah, we never moving up north. Ever. The farthest north we're gonna go is where we're at right now. And we're in South Carolina. That shows how north we're going. Yep, looks like an E60. Looks like a BMW V8. How can I tell? Do I really need to answer that? You guys can see it for yourself. It's all the oil. And actually, this is actually surprisingly clean. I feel like someone's been down here or just went at it with some brake cleaner. Let's take this cover off and then let's get some light on it. This screw doesn't belong here. That one doesn't belong there. This one belongs there. Oh! That shit went right in my eye. Now I'm gonna get a new pimple there.
People are gonna say you should wear glasses.
It's just water. I look weird with glasses, bro. Now you care how you look? That's what she would have said if she had a mic on. That's what happens when you've been together for 10 years, bro. It's like that mental connection. Like, I already know what she's gonna say before she says it. 10 years? Oh, hell no. It's time to trade in. Get the new model. Too soon? We're only 20 something. I feel like after 25, you don't say your age anymore, right? You just say 20 something, late 20s. You never say you're in your 30s, right? I wouldn't know. I'm not there yet. Okay. Someone didn't tighten the drain bolt properly. Someone used the wrong socket on the drain bolt. Someone used the wrong socket on the oil filter drain bolt.
How do you know?
Because it's stripped, right? Because they use the torque socket on a hex drain bolt, or vice versa. Okay, so I can see a bunch of oil and stuff on the transmission. I see oil on the oil pan. Shouldn't be on the outside, it should be on the inside of the oil pan. But it happens, it's a BMW. And I feel like this is the example, like not this specific car, but these cars, BMW V8s especially the E60s and E90s. That's what people mean when they say BMWs are unreliable. Because this is how all of them look. They actually look a lot worse than this. For this car to have been sitting for 2 years, nobody's pressure washed the engine bay, nobody's pressure washed any of this in the last 2 years, it is surprisingly dry. Like it's actually, I'm very impressed with how it's looking right now for how long it's been sitting. But that looks weird. So it looks like somebody's welded on here. I don't know why. Is there a bolt on this side?
Yeah.
Wait, that's so weird. So it should be like a stud that should have a head on this side, but there's no head on this side. One of these sway bar ears probably broke off and somebody just welded it back on there. But I don't know why it's looking like that when it should look like that. Oh my goodness. This is the I forgot the engine code, bro. Is it N62 or N63? So BMW V8s, especially the E60 era, so 545, 550, 645, 650, they all have this thing called an alternator bracket gasket. I guess you can refer to it as alternator bracket gasket. This one's leaking. So a lot of people don't expect alternators to have a gasket, but it's not the actual alternator. It's the bracket that has it. So there's oil all over the alternator down here, all on the back side of the alternator. The valve covers are leaking. This upper oil pan is leaking. These oil cooler hoses have oil on them, which is probably just from that the oil pan leaking. The belts look fine. So one thing I haven't checked. Wait, why does it look like that? So if you come in here, you can see somebody tried to glue these rubber grommets on there. And this looks a little milky. Oh, why is it? You see that?
It's like mustard.
It looks like mustard, and nobody likes mustard. But yeah, so that doesn't. I'm not sure why it's like that. Now, when we come further back to the transmission area, this is actually surprisingly one of the cleaner transmission as well. I mean, yes, there's oil literally over the whole thing. Right, you can see that's all oil and transmission fluid, all that mixed together, but it's still surprisingly one of the cleaner ones. So this is definitely hasn't been touched. 138, almost 140,000 miles. Here's the thing, right? So we already know with this many miles, the whole engine needs to be overhauled. One common issue on these engines are the valve stem seals. So those valve stem seals, you'll see it smoking out the back when you're sitting at idle. Like when you're sitting at a stoplight, you press the gas a little bit, starts blowing smoke out. So it's gonna need that. It's gonna need the valve cover gaskets. It's probably gonna need a full cooling system. It's gonna need the oil pan gasket, upper and lower. It's probably gonna need a bunch of the hoses. It's gonna need that alternator bracket gasket, probably some pulleys, some tensioners. All that stuff starts adding up when you start doing it because most of that stuff's gonna need to be replaced. But the main issue here, which is probably why the car was parked, is this transmission. And as you guys know, I've got the ZF 6HP transmission covered. I mean, I've got so many videos on it. The only videos we don't have on here are fully rebuilding one. That might be the case here. But obviously, as I always say, first things first, you want to do fluid, filter, sleeves, solenoids. So we're going to do that first. Before we address any of the leaks, we're going to do that. And as I said before, we are not selling this car. We're not going to give it away. It's gonna stay in my family, mainly because that's what the owner of this car wanted. That's what he requested, but we have way too many cars. I mean, I can't drive all the cars that we have, and unfortunately, I don't have the time to spend right now to do all those gaskets and stuff. So like I said, my game plan for this is we're gonna get the solenoids and all that stuff fixed. I wanna be able to get it back on the road as quickly as possible. I want it to be driven, because the more a car sits, the more issues are gonna happen over time just from sitting. So we're gonna get the solenoids done and see how the car reacts to that. But this car came from Indiana, and it's very easy to tell because these nuts for the exhaust are no longer nuts. They're not hex nuts anymore. They're honestly, this looks like it's already gone. I think I give it a couple more months and they're just gonna fall off completely. Like we don't even have to take them off. They'll just fall off. But the studs are fine. And I mean, everything else, surprisingly, everything else looks good. I mean, yeah, you see right here, there's some more surface rust, some surface rust down here. But all that's not even bad. Honestly, I still can't believe that he gave me this car. Just gave it, that's, blows my mind. I mean, some people are just way too generous, honestly. This guy literally just gave me the car, nothing, doesn't expect anything in return. Besides, ideally, he wants me to keep it in my family. That way, it stays and lives. But mark my words, one day, hopefully very soon, I will give a car away to one of you guys. Or somebody that you guys want me to give a car to, whether it's somebody that needs one, anything like that. It just sucks that I'm in this niche market of the BMW community. I mean, I don't want to give a car away to somebody where they have issues with it, because then you know, it's like I just passed them another problem. And we definitely don't want to do that. But yeah, so right now, we do have kind of an idea. Everything looks a lot better than I was expecting. Like, especially when I removed those covers, I was expecting a lot more oil buildup and just stuff literally just dripping on me, not just water, but like all other fluids. And everything looks pretty good. Only thing that doesn't is that transmission, which we already knew about, and we will go and order all those parts and get ready to get that transmission solenoids, all that service done, and hopefully get this car back on the road very soon. Time sure does fly. It's almost over a month later from when all the rest of this video was shot. But you know, we thought might as well just go ahead and get this car on the road in this same video. So I bought all the stuff to do the solenoids and stuff. Like I said before, this transmission is the main issue that's preventing the car from actually being driven. So we're gonna take all this stuff off, replace it, get all the codes and adaptations reset, get the car on the road, and then we'll see what else it needs. All right, let's see how this fluid looks. I'm pretty sure this fluid's kind of low too, because it seems like it's leaking out of a few spots. And I don't think it's ever been changed. Because, as BMW puts it, it's lifetime fluid. And I can't stress this enough. When they say lifetime fluid, they mean lifetime of that part, not the lifetime of the car. It will last a lot longer if you changed it regularly. And I have a full DIY on this whole procedure. I'll have that link down below. Ooh, that's bad. Oh. And it's low. Oh, it's really low. That is probably not even a full quart that came out of there. Wow. My hopes are going down the drain pretty fast. Because if that fluid was that low and it got to that point while it was being driven, we're gonna have some major issues. Let's see what this big nose picks up. It doesn't smell that burnt. I mean, it smells a little burnt. It smells like 140,000 miles worth of fluid, I'll tell you that. This transmission pan is from 18 December 2006, and this is a 2007. So that pretty much means that this pan has never been replaced. If it was taken off before, they just put the same one back on. And the reason I'm thinking that it might have been taken off before is, let me show you on the valve body. So that valve body has that X on there, and that doesn't seem like it would be something from the factory. I'm not sure why it's there. That could indicate that the valve body has been removed and replaced before or rebuilt, who knows. But all of these solenoids, they actually look like they are the stock ones. I don't think anybody's touched those. And that's what we are going to be replacing today. That, along with all the valve body sealing sleeves, the whole pan, which has the filter built into it, and just all new fluid. And hopefully that helps out in this situation. But I guess we'll find out here shortly. Actually pretty pliable still. So these are actually not as hard as they usually are. They're pretty soft and malleable still. Usually these get very, very hard. They don't really get brittle like the square adapter that's over here, but these are actually still pretty soft. But as you can see, you gotta take all this stuff off to remove them and replace them. So we're gonna go ahead and do it. All right, next is gonna be the actual valve body. All right, so we've got everything put back together. We got the pan on and everything. All the stuff I used was ZF brand, which is what I always recommend. The valve body sealing sleeves, the square adapter, the pan, the solenoids, all of that. But this time I'm actually gonna try something new. There is this transmission fluid that's made by Liqui Moly, and it is spec'd out for the ZF Lifeguard, so it meets those specifications. It's called Liqui Moly ATF Top Tech 1800. And I've used this on other cars before, not for the ZF Lifeguard, but I know it is spec for that. And since we're not entirely sure about how this transmission is actually going to be, I'm not sure if the solenoids are going to fix it or anything like that. So we're just going to run this fluid in it. And this fluid was pretty dirty as well. So this would work as a good, even use it to drain and fill a couple of times. And then if the transmission is doing fine, but I just notice a few things here and there, then we'll fill it back up with the actual ZF Lifeguard 6. But the ZF Lifeguard is just pretty much double the price of this. And I just bought a whole 20-liter thing of this for under 200 bucks. The ZF Lifeguard, you'll probably get not even 10 liters for 200 bucks. So we'll see how it works. And if it works out great, I'll definitely let you guys know. I'll even go update it on that ZF video. That way people can, buy this fluid instead of buying the Lifeguard for double the price. Okay. Should call her. All right, now we gotta do the rest of the filling procedure. So I've got to turn it on, go through the gears. Usually I reset the adaptations right before I'm about to do this, but you can also reset them after you've done the whole filling procedure. So the car currently wasn't in limp mode when we brought it in, so we should be fine to do it this way. If your car was in limp mode before you did this work, then you would probably have to reset those adaptations beforehand. All right, it's gonna make some weird noises too. Cold start. Ow. Yeah, you have to hold it. All right, so I'm just resetting the adaptation values. Once that's done, then we are ready to go for a test drive. All right, so we've got it on the road, the first test drive ever. So we've never even driven it before the whole transmission issue or anything like that. But we got the new solenoids in there. I did reset the adaptation. So what's gonna happen is the first, I would say 15 to 20 minutes, is gonna shift very erratically. So it's gonna be, hard shifts until it starts adapting. You can do a drive cycle. There's a specific drive cycle that allows the adaptations to learn a lot quicker. But we don't have the space for that. There's too much traffic and all that. So we're just gonna drive it around, just drive it slowly until it starts adapting. Once it starts getting smoother, then we can actually get on it a little bit, see if it's slipping at all or anything like that. Besides that, I'm actually very excited to see how everything else feels. The car's been sitting for a while. I think the last time it was really on the road, at least the last record that we got from the owner that gave us the car, was 2019, I believe, was the last time when it was actually on the road. So it's been a while. But the tires and all that, I checked all the pressures, everything looks good, and we're driving. So far, so good though. It's went through all of the gears. It's got, the rough shifts like I said, but everything else feels great. And also, it is a beautiful day out. It's almost 70 degrees outside in February. It's crazy. I love it. So there is a little bit of a vibration when you start getting at speed or going at speed. That's probably just from the tires been sitting for a little bit, or they just need to be balanced. Another thing I noticed when you're sitting at idle is vibrating a lot. So the engine mounts, transmission mounts, all that stuff needs to be replaced. But like I said, we want to get the car back on the road first, and that's when you're really going to find out everything that's wrong with it. Well, now that the car is drivable, we can actually put it on the road, you know, start making a list of all the stuff that we notice, anything else that it needs. But I really want to thank Bryan for even giving us this car and giving us the opportunity to make all these videos on this E60. I really want to get this car back to tip-top shape and keep the memory alive for him as well. But now that we do have an E60 for the channel, make sure you guys leave comments down below of any other videos that you guys want to see. We do have a few E60 videos already. We'll have those linked down below as well. But if there's anything specific that you want to see on this car, make sure you comment down below and we'll try to make a video out of it. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm very grateful for this whole opportunity in general. And once again, thank you, Bryan, so much. I will see you guys in the next video.